Now, talking about the shale oil, how sustainable is the production, looking at the economics of its production?
Well, shale oil production is sustainable provided the price is up to a level. And in the last few days, there has been some signs that some of the companies, producing shale oil, shale gas, they have started buckling up in terms of, in the face of the supply of, in the face of decline in the price of oil. Some of the rigs being contracted to produce shale gas, some of them are now being cancelled because the price have gone down, and this technology is suitable for American system, but then it has to come at a price. Even though there's some insurance, for the producers of shale gas, which will mean that you may even produce at a level that's not at the real cost level, but even then, the price has to be at a level for you to be able to sustain that. The current situation is undermining, or will undermine, the production of shale gas or shale oil in the long term, which in effect means, which will be a good thing for crude oil producers, and these are some of the things that currently happening. In the next 2 to 3 months, we'll see some structural changes, adjustment in the way that shale gas is coming to the market, or at least we can foresee what volume of shale gas or shale oil will come to the market, could be exported, and the impact, on the crude oil from OPEC producing countries.
You did mention our own minister, the petroleum minister being elected, the OPEC president. That was at the November meeting. Now, looking at, will I say all of this politics, how much influence can she actually bring to bear, looking at the current situation?
Well, what she would do, or what I will imagine or expect that she would do, is to consult with fellow OPEC countries. As the president, she has the prerogative, to go around, talk to them, and brainstorm with them, share ideas with them in terms of what they could do, what OPEC can do to resolve some of the problems currently is facing the market. That is traditionally the role of the president. I've happened to have traveled to various Middle East countries in the 80s, for this kind of assignment, when Nigerian minister was alternate president, of OPEC. And even when traditionally, before OPEC meets, president used to meet his colleagues, now our colleagues, to narrow down areas of differences, because there will be meetings behind meetings. When it's not, some of the discussions you have at OPEC conferences tend to have been discussed before you get there. 2-3 days meeting, conference is not where you have, a meeting of the mind. The president will identify, working with the secretariat, working with the secretary general, and getting briefings from the secretary general, will now have some ideas about issues and strategies will have to be planned, and this has to be discussed with especially the vocal members of the of OPEC. In this case, we are talking about Saudi Arabia, talking about Iran, talking about United Arab Emirates. Currently, Iraq is having problems. No, Iraq is not having a problem because, as a matter of fact, the production of Iraq is all-time high now. Libya is the country that, because of the current crisis caused by ISIS, their production has gone down to almost zero. So these are the areas. Then you are talking of Venezuela, of course, Indonesia. So the president will have to go around her colleagues, to discuss some of these issues, how to get out of this doldrum, this logjam. The position of Saudi Arabia may not be cast in stone to say that they will, until the price gets to $20 per barrel, I'm not going to cut back production. No. And the other Gulf countries are supporting Saudi Arabia. So I guess at a point in time, there something must have to give way. Because if OPEC doesn't intervene before June, there will be more problems in the international market. Of course, I'm not saying the problem will just be that the price will continue to go down. In the past, we used to say, and we know this as a fact, that oil is a wasting asset. Now, why should we be pumping out crude oil that is a wasting asset that can be stored in the ground in terms of not producing for the future generations? Why should we be giving this wasting asset for peanuts? So we feel that there are a number of projects for oil production that will not be competitive at $20, $30, even $40 per barrel. Yes, the Middle East countries are low-cost producers, not like Nigeria, because Nigeria now is moving to deep offshore. And like when we were producing onshore, the cost of production per barrel offshore, deep water is different from onshore. And the same thing with most, when we are looking at U.S., the cost, we are now talking about the shale gas, that the cost of producing shale gas cannot be at $40 per barrel. So, which means that sooner or later, the dynamics of the industry will make that the price has to go up. Certainly, the price must go up. Maybe we'll be looking at $60, or at best, maybe we could even be looking at $70, but not until it has bottomed out, and then we see an upward trend in the price of oil.
Now, maybe if it gets to $20, would Nigeria still produce?
Of course. What else, where can you get foreign exchange earnings other than from oil? So we don't have to cruise along, no matter how low the price of oil, but it will be very unfortunate. After all, there was a time in this country where the price was $10 per barrel. So there's nothing saying that Nigeria will stop producing even when the price goes down to $20 per barrel. So the key thing is for you to have a policy, a short and long, medium and long-term policy, what to do with whatever you are getting from your oil.
Now, looking at the outcome of things, now, what is the fate of new indigenous investors in the oil production in Nigeria? I mean, quite a good number of them came into that business barely 2 years ago.
That's a very good question because, some of the indigenous producers, actually went into this and they did the economics of the fields they are producing, and I can bet that, even though they may do critical analysis, and decision trees and all what, in terms of what is the cost of production for them to put the feed into production, I guess they will feel the pinch at a point in time. But how low the price could go for them to be able to still continue producing is a matter of each company to decide depending on the terrain, where it is producing, and the cost of production when everything is taken into account. It's not just the question of drilling, but the question of the cost from the drilling to the point that you say your crude oil evacuates, from the fields. So all this will not be the same for every company. But there's absolutely no doubt that currently, with the price declining, some of them will be nervous because, as you know, they don't have the pocket, to fall in terms of how to meet some of the challenges they may be facing, like some of the international oil companies that have made good money in the past. And they can easily use economies of scale on the current production to shore up any challenges they may have, in terms of their cost. But one hopes that the indigenous companies will not have serious challenges. And let me even say this, even in U.S., for example, part of the problem we may be looking at in future is what will be the impact of some of the companies that have gone out there to raise facilities. In 1986, in 1982, there are some banks that went under who have lent so much to the internet for oil and gas operations because the price went down to a certain level. Some of them, couldn't pay back, and it caused problems for some of the financial institutions. Now, I believe there are quite a number of banks that have given money to some indigenous companies that will now be nervous as to whether what will happen to the facilities. If that happens and they can't pay back, it will affect the general economy, because this represents a sizable portfolio for some of these financial institutions. That's another aspect of the system to watch.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Fawibe. Let's just hope that OPEC tries to resolve this whole issue so that we don't keep having all of this. And let's just hope that our dear minister would understand the politics in the oil market and know how to, in the international oil market, and know how to play it.
She's not a technocrat, so she understands. She has been in the industry.
Well, and of course, you are suggesting that Nigeria should actually export its refined petroleum products. That's a way.
Of course, now we are importing, and there's nothing we can do in the short term. But we hope that we will get around some of these issues in the next.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fawibe.
You're welcome.
Well, I've been speaking with Dr. Diran Fawibe. He is the CEO of International Energy Services Limited, and we've been looking at the politics of the plummeting global oil prices. Well, it's on that note that we draw the curtain on today's edition of the program, and I say thank you very much for being part of it. Do remember to join us again same time tomorrow. I'm Chimeze Obi. Well, have a good day.